Hello, everyone. This is Kevin, and today I'm going to take some time to reflect on the year 2020 in hopes that perhaps 2021 will not be anything like 2020, or at least that seems to be the hope. But 2020, a year to remember, a year to forget. We all love dichotomies, right? It has been a year of loss, division, and challenges. The losses as of this morning to COVID, according to Johns Hopkins, 1,807,638 due to COVID. Take that number as you wish to interpret it. I know some people have different interpretations about this whole virus thing, so I'm not going to tell you that your opinion's invalid because it's not, but interpret that as you will. Um, but you cannot deny that this has been definitely a year of loss. Every year is a year of loss, but this year it really has been put under the microscope. Uh, it's been a year of division. Black Lives Matter. As much as many of us that I associate with support that particular movement, it has caused some division, and like all lives matter sort of came from it. And so there's been a healthy dose of division even for that. And the challenges, I can't even put into words how many challenges uh, personally and as um, the human race we have had to encounter during 2020. It's almost unfathomable. Hopefully, in the years to come, things will not be as challenging as this year, so that we can look back and be like, yeah, you think this year, whatever year that may be in the future, is challenging. Look what we had to do in 2020. And not only for, like, of course, the hospital system, but on our own being, I think has been the biggest challenge. And that's because of many various reasons, including um, when being in sort of like a lockdown quarantine type situation. It really presents a lot of personal challenges because you have a lot of time to think about yourself, basically. Whatever that may mean, it's a little bit different from the Buddhist context of what that really means. So, some leaders during this year have rose to the occasion. I use that in past tense. They still are, but we're talking about 2020 as a whole. So I'm going to say the past tense here. So there we go. Those are leaders that were considered effective when it came to their COVID response. Others fumbled the ball. And of course, President Trump is on there. He's fumbled the ball on a lot of things, and yet there's are still a lot of people that support him for various reasons. And I'm not saying that those reasons are invalid; they're totally valid. Just not, I personally will disagree with most of those supporters. But at the same time, different strokes for different folks. Some people ask the question of how they could be part of the solution. How can we be helpful? Stay home, wear a mask if you go out. At one point, it was make sure you're wearing gloves. And that was meant for various reasons, but mostly to not put a stress on hospitalizations. Others decided blaming was more important. It's China's fault. It's the medical professionals' fault. And ultimately, that was and continues to be counterproductive because we can point the finger at anyone that we want. it doesn't change the current situation. There's a story, and I'll share this briefly. It's a Buddhist themed story, but I think it's really applicable. There were these performers at a circus, and it was a duel. Not duel like, but a duo, I guess is I should pronounce it correctly. And one says to the other, if you watch what I'm doing, and no, if you, sorry, let's not get this incorrect. One of them says, if you watch what I do and I watch what you do, we will perform successfully and make our money. And the other says, no, if I watch what I do and you watch what you do, then we will have a successful performance and we will make our money. The other one takes that guy's advice, they perform well, and they get their reward, get their money. We have to really stop looking at others and criticizing them for what they're doing or not doing, and look inward and see what we're doing and not doing. It's not up to us to decide what other people do or not do, from a personal standpoint. From a governmental public health standpoint, it's a little bit different, because an ill-informed society is not gonna, or a society that's tired of dealing with a virus will not deal with the situation as wisely as that story points out. No judgment, just putting a point out there. We acknowledged and appreciated, once again, past tense, those who are essential to our functional society. Now people are pointing the fingers at some of the medical professionals and at scientists. Whether that's just or not, it's up to interpretation. I'll just say that my interpretation is it's very much unjust. No one asked for this virus. No one asked for all the challenges of 2020, the way everything's worked out. So once again, why are you pointing fingers and being counterproductive, being part of the problem instead of the solution? But we acknowledged and appreciated them, and now apparently we don't, as not nearly as much. I do, and whenever I go someplace like the grocery store or whatever, I make sure to thank them profusely. On a more personal level, 2020 for me involved many attempts to overcome adversity before the virus. I was a teaching assistant earlier this year, as far away as that seems. So, from September until schools closed down in March, it was an everyday overcoming adversity type situation. And to be quite honest with you, I was getting a little sick and tired of that. So when schools did close, it sort of, in a way, saved me from burning out and basically imploding, because it was really getting that point. It was to a point where teaching, it wasn't going to happen. It was classroom management almost 100% of the day. It was pissing me off, and I was absolutely sick and tired of it. And then, there are other stressful circumstances that came up in the first half of 2020. When the virus sort of started, gaining some momentum, and we had to sort of lock down and sort of quarantine ourselves. It was very stressful because I didn't know what my job responsibilities were going to be. It was a new situation for a lot of people, about what they were going to do. And so that took a while to get comfortable with. And also family circumstances. My father passing away in May, and all the unnecessary drama that sort of came out of that situation, from a certain third party. That and I shouldn't be doing this, but I do it anyway. Is in high stress situations, the Crohn's gets a lot worse, and I should actually be informing my doctor about that. However, after the stress passed and everything became a little more comfortable, it wasn't nearly as bad. So I just figured that was a play it by ear situation. But I really should have probably told the doctor about that and be like, hey, you know what? I'm crapping and it's black. That's usually not a good sign. But yeah, the first half of 2020 was pretty miserable uh, at some points. But 2020 was also a year of introspection for me and finding the best in a given situation. Yes, there were many challenges, but those challenges brought out the best in me, brought out the worst in me sometimes too. And no situation was completely atrocious. It was just a matter of perspective. Even with the job, it was like, well, every day I have a chance to practice compassion, for example. But compassion fatigue is a thing, and but still, there was that opportunity. It was a year of finding out who the friends were and who were just the acquaintances and who wasn't a friend at all. And definitely, this reaching out to keep in touch thing that I sort of dabbled with earlier in the year and that I've sort of sporadically been checking in with people. That's pretty new to me. Usually I just let everyone do their thing, and if they reach out to me, that's cool. If I usually don't reach out to them, but this year was definitely one of those things where that should be an exception, not the rule. Or maybe I should change the rule. An opportunity for a new beginning. Uh, Studying at MCC uh, is a new beginning. Making relatively not a lot, but a few new buds uh, there. It's tough to make friends virtually, to be honest with you. Uh, I really would have preferred being on campus, but it is what it is. And also an opportunity for sharing knowledge and insight through the Let's Discuss Buddhism series, which I took most of those videos down, but I kept a couple. And starting the Super Dharma Bros podcast, discussing an interfaith podcast for 2021. That's nothing to that's nothing to take away from. That's only giving. And it's the one of the only places right now, one of the only areas that I can give safely. So as much as I want to say 2020 was the worst year of my life, I can't say that. It brought me closer to my faith. It brought me closer to the people around me. And I learned so much about myself and how to address concerns and how to address challenges. And, as much as, I like to say that from any situation, there's sort of good that comes out of it. And this, I'm pretty sure that this doesn't sound as terrible when I say it out loud, but my father, even though he passed away, he made sure that we were taken care of. The kids were taken care of. We were not going to be burdened with everything. Sure, we had to do some work to do it, but we got some security out of it. I wouldn't be able to stay here in Rochester if that didn't happen. I would have eventually run out of money, and I would have had to probably move in with family anyway. So there is sort of a glass half full, glass half empty situation for most circumstances. That being said, if you're in poverty, there's no sort of like half full. It's more like quarter full or less because there are fewer opportunities and chances. So yeah, as much as I would love to say 2020 was the dumpiest, crappiest year, there are so many things that happened that were positive that I can't say that. And I don't think I can say that about any year that I've been alive. Now that I reflect on it, maybe at the time it seemed horrible, but probably if I look back on it, even like 2010 when the Crohn's, I needed surgery for the Crohn's, so much good came out of that. And a friend and I have discussed this so much. Um, looking back and reflect on everything, you realize that all those things helped you become the person that you are now, for better or for worse. And for me, it's definitely a for better situation. Everything that's happened to me has been for a better situation. It's just a matter of perspective. And 2020 is definitely for the history books. So we're using the present tense now. We're not saying was, it is definitely for the history books. Who knows what it's going to say about it? And here's the thing, and I hope people take this message. I mean, I know pretty much all my friends will. Uh, if we play this smart, we can share stories of this year, 2020, for the generations that are to come. We can't do that if we play this chess game of, whether it's a hoax or not, and hope to come out of it unscathed. What does that tell us for what does that tell the future generation, huh? There's so much opportunity here, and if we play it smart, we can teach awesome lessons for the next generations and say we were divided, but we came together and we overcame all of these challenges. And it may have taken a while, but we were patient and we were able to overcome all of those obstacles, all of those challenges, and be better for it. So that's all I really have to say about 2020. I apologize for the duplicate slide there because the software was being a little bit feisty. So I hope that everyone has a great start to the new year tomorrow, or if you're halfway around the world, today. Um, yeah, I think ultimately what I would like to say for 2021 is look at the lessons that you're going to learn reflectively and try and take the positives out of it. Acknowledge those negatives, of course, but work with those positives. That way you feel like you're progressing and not regressing. All right, thank you for listening, everyone. And I hope that you have a great start to 2021. Please continue to take care of yourselves, and I'll chat with you soon. Goodbye for now.